Hey everybody, Jack here with MajorLeagueTrading.com coming at you with your weekly market trade plan for the week of October 23rd going through the 27th. So Monday's going to be the 23rd, Friday's the 27th, and then we got Halloween next week. So for everybody celebrating that, make sure you dress up, be festive, and enjoy the holiday. But to get into the technical analysis, this week we're going to be going over the Euro JPY. I'm also going to review the USD CAD, the Russell, and the oil markets for this week's technical trade plan. But before we begin, as always, we want to highlight the major news events for the week, which are always important to pay attention to because that is where liquidity is provided in the market for the futures and currency markets. I'm not a news trader by any means. I don't look to speculate on what news means or the future fundamentals of an individual news events. However, because I am a trader, I'm aware of where and when the news is coming out, what market, what time, and how that affects the market. Because although I might not care, somebody else will, and most likely that somebody else moves the market a whole lot more than I ever could. So let's go over those events. Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. we're going to have CPI coming out of the Australian dollar, followed by trimmed the CPI at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Nothing Monday. Wednesday, Great Britain pound at 4:30 a.m. preliminary GDP quarter over quarter. And then at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, you're going to have the core durable goods orders for the USD, and at 10 a.m. for the Canadian dollar, you have Bank of Canada monetary policy report, the rate statement, and the overnight rate, followed up by, on Wednesday as per usual, the crude oil inventories at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. At 11:15 a.m., you're going to have the Bank of Canada press conference. And then on Thursday, 7:45, you're going to have the minimum bid rate out of the EUR, followed up at 8:30 by the ECB press conference and unemployment claims for the US dollar, finishing out Friday at 8:30 a.m. with advanced GDP quarter over quarter. So big news events I just want to highlight, I'll curse over. So a lot of USD CAD news. More than anything on the board this week, we have USD CAD news. That's why we'll be looking at the currency in tonight's video. And then we're going to have the ECB press conference at 8:30 on Thursday, which should be a market liquidity provider. Moving into the technical analysis for the European market. So we have pretty much three pairs we can trade on Nadex for the European markets. You have European Great Britain pound, European US dollar, and then the European Japanese yen. So I'm going to go with the yen, which is /EUR/JPY, because it was a big mover last week. All the JPY pairs were consistently moving higher, and we've hit what I consider to be a profit target here so far in the open on Sunday, and that profit target was a 134.06, and you can see we traded right into that in the first hour, and they're coming off and staying below that level so far. Going into next week, I have two levels of support. And then the full halfway back is what I want to pay attention to, really, and that's just the low of Thursday too high. And I'm looking at the 133.40 to 133.35 support level. So if you look at where the market, so the day of the breakout is also the day of the reversal last week. So on Thursday, there was a very sharp move down, and then you see the previous resistance on Thursday, this level right here. And you just take up a trend line level, and you see how we kind of battled back and forth, broke above, and then that level was a battle again. And the final high before the true breakout was 133.42. So 133.42 is where I'm going to be looking at next week for a potential support level in the European JPY. So what I've done here is set an alert and looking for a pullback into that level for a potential long setup going into next week. Moving into the oil markets /CL, we are now in the December contract. Nadex did roll over from the November to the December last week, but now we are fully trading the December contract in the futures markets as well, as far as volume is now moved in completely to that contract. So I pretty much have two separate levels I'm looking at here in the oil markets. The first is of 51.77. That is my primary support level anticipating tomorrow, next week, or possibly tomorrow, and then below that I'm looking at 51.56. So setting alerts at both of those levels. We had a very nice, a lot of volatility in the oil markets compared to something like the S&P 500 or the Dow, or really on any of the indexes. The volatility as far as percentage change range in the oil markets is significantly greater than the S&P 500. So if you're looking for a market next week, that's open during the nicey hours and has good ranges during that time frame, look no further than the oil futures market, which is /CL, and I think it's X7 for the December contract of 2017. So those are my two levels of support. I've marked them both up. I do think we can continue higher up into 53.37 is my full target for this week. If we get up there, I'll be a little more cautious with bullish trade setups, but looking for pullbacks into, like I said, that it's like a 51.78.77, and then below that a 51.57 level. So about 20 ticks apart, looking for first touches of both those levels going into the week for oil. Moving on then to the Russell, which has actually already touched my first primary support level, and then I have secondary support levels below. But the 1508.9 to 1507.4 range was the support level I was anticipating. That is already traded before the open here on Monday or Sunday night for the Nadex markets. The futures are open, but Nadex is not open just yet. Upside profit targets from these levels right now are 1516.8 to 1518.5. That is where I'm thinking we will make the next leg up. However, if any point this week and we can come back into the 1504 support level, I will expect that to be a potential support level to trade. And I'm going to mark again this 1508.9, because if we trade it, the Russell on a daily chart, just to kind of back out a bit, this was kind of the market. Oops. Here we are. The Russell was, there we are. There we are. Clicked the wrong screen, threw me up. The Russell was the weaker market, right? Pretty much since the high we have made. We did make a new high here on the 9th of October, but the highs we've made, the 4th and the 5th, we've not closed above those levels, but we did get a very clean reversal out of the beginning of the move up, going to the October 2nd, which was the first trading day of the month. We retested the open of the month and have reversed higher out here. So I'm expecting a little more strength out of the Russell this week with continuations off of this reversal Thursday, and that's why I want to focus on that market long at these levels, 1504 and then 1509 is a primary support level. Moving on to the USD CAD, which, as I explained at the beginning of this video, has some significant news events on the calendar for next week that could move the market truly in either direction. Just to kind of remind you guys and bring it back up, the highlight of the week for the CAD is going to be on Wednesday. Lots of news at 10 o'clock and 11:15 New York time. But what you can see, we've been channeling here in this USD CAD for a few weeks, and we have broken out of that channel as of Friday. So if we can begin this trend up, I do think, and I'm going to go to the higher time frame here on the weekly chart. Here we go. That's a daily. Chart settings seem to be a little off right now. Okay, here we go. This is a weekly chart. So I had a major support level that traded in the beginning of September, retested these lows in the 2015. So retested some major lows in 2015 and have seen a big reversal. We had a large move down, but there's no reason that the CAD can't get all the way back up into the 130 level, which is where we had broken down. So I think it's possible we see a continuation off of the move on Friday, and really what I'm looking for next week is a retest of this high here, this zone 126 to 150.90, and I'm going to throw alerts up at those levels and look for them really only on a first test. So setting those alerts at those levels, anticipating them to pull back and rally before the news events. For news events, I typically like to play like bigger moves, but if we can pull back into those levels before the news event, I'll look for a potential long setup. But that is going to conclude this week's Nadex trade plan video. I I hope you all have a wonderful week. Everybody trade safe and enjoy your Halloween. Take care.